claimed to be one of the most haunted places in the world.
Imagine a world where, even with all our high-tech gadgets and big scientific wins, there are still spots on Earth that baffle us completely. Some of these places are breathtakingly beautiful. Others give you goosebumps. But every single one is wrapped in mystery.
You know, I've traveled around the world to see some of the most amazing geology, but this place just tops it all.
What's really behind their odd shapes and eerie vibes? We're about to explore 20 of the most puzzling locations on the planet, sites that have scientists scratching their heads and leave the rest of us wide-eyed with wonder. Here are the 20 most mysterious places scientists still can't explain.
Beautiful, beautiful waterfall called the Eternal Flame. Why?
Number 20, the Bermuda Triangle. Almost everyone's heard whispers about this patch of ocean, but few really grasp its strangeness. The Bermuda Triangle stretches between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. Innocent points on the map that hide a chilling record. Vessels vanishing without a trace. The most recent baffling case unfolded on May 15, 2017. A twin-engine MU-2B climbed to 24,000 feet, heading from Puerto Rico to Tallahassee with pilot Nathan Ulrich, Jennifer Blumen, CEO of Skylight Group, and her 2 young sons. Then silence. Radar and radio went dark. No SOS. No floating debris. Just endless blue.
Had multiple aircraft searching today. We've also been working with the Royal Bahamian Defense Force to conduct land portions of the banks.
Scientists offer practical angles. Rogue waves as tall as 90 feet that can swallow ships whole, sudden thunderstorms whipped up by the warm Gulf Stream, or shifting magnetic fields here that jolt compasses off by as much as 20 degrees. There's even talk of massive methane eruptions from the seafloor, turning water into a deadly foam that sinks ships instantly. Each idea explains a few cases, but none cover every strange disappearance. Every crossing is a gamble. You might sail through unscathed or join the list of unexplained vanishings. It's a risk. Now let's swap open water for sweeping desert sands to examine a gigantic sandstone block in Saudi Arabia. If this kind of content excites you, make sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications as we dive into this type of content daily. Number 19, the Al Nasla Rock Formation. Out in Saudi Arabia's Tama Oasis stands a giant sandstone boulder so perfectly split, it looks laser cut. The 2 halves lean apart at a jaw-dropping angle, each balanced on narrow natural pedestals. No human tool marks, no metal seams, just a crisp, straight crack slicing through 8 feet of rock. Around its base, ancient petroglyphs show animals, hunters, and strange symbols. Exactly who carved them and when remains a mystery. Carbon dating of nearby artifacts hints at Bronze Age origins, but there's no record of stone-cutting tools that precise. Nature can be sneaky. Some geologists point to long, gentle erosion along a natural fault line, with wind and rain smoothing the split over thousands of years. Others argue the crack is too straight, edges too clean for natural forces alone. Local lore peppers the story with whispers of jinn, genies, and lost civilizations. Some even suggest extraterrestrials dropped in to practice their cuts.
Conspiracy theorists suggest that aliens cut the rock in half using sophisticated technology.
Yet the closest modern laser-cut replicas still show tiny irregularities, imperfections that the Al Nasla split doesn't have. Today, visitors hatch plans to wedge in lights or glass floors to turn it into a tourist spectacle. But experts caution any drilling or supports could damage the fragile balance that's held for centuries. For now, this giant rock keeps its secret, daring everyone who sees it to explain how nature, or something else, pulled off the perfect slice. Number 18, the Barabar Caves. Deep in the hills of Bihar, India, lie the Barabar Caves, ancient chambers carved into solid granite more than 2,200 years ago. On the surface, they look like humble stone openings. But once inside, things get weird fast. The walls are polished to such a glassy sheen that they reflect sound in eerie, almost unnatural ways. Say something, and your voice bounces around in a perfect echo.
It's perfectly flat, very close to, and it's still polished after nearly 2,500 years.
It's no surprise some researchers believe these caves were designed with acoustics in mind, perhaps for meditative chants or ritualistic sound ceremonies. Built during the reign of Emperor Ashoka, these caves were reportedly given to a mysterious group called the Ajivikas, a now extinct religious sect with some pretty cryptic beliefs. But here's the thing, we still don't know for sure what these caves were actually used for. There are no idols, no carvings of gods, just inscriptions in the Brahmi script. And even those offer more questions than answers. How did people in the 3rd century BCE manage to polish granite with such precision? And why go to all that effort unless there was a very specific reason? As scientists continue scratching their heads, local legends fill in the gaps. Tales of hidden treasures, secret passageways, and strange energies that linger in the air. Number 17, the Barsakelmes Plateau. On Kazakhstan's Barsakelmes Plateau, once an island in the Aral Sea, a blanket of cracked earth now hides stories that chill the spine. Locals call it the place of no return, and for good reason. In the 1970s, as the sea shrank, this speck of land emerged with salty soil and bone-dry air. But even today, people whisper about visitors who wander in and never come back. Some say time itself warps here. Hikers report watches stopping cold or racing ahead by days. Others spot odd lights floating at dusk, too steady for lanterns, too bright to be fireflies. And there are tales of sudden blue-tinged skin. After one night camped under the stars, travelers woke up looking as if dipped in indigo paint. Scientists chalk it up to mineral deposits or rare algae in dried lake beds, but they haven't ruled out more unsettling causes. Then there's the graveyard. Fresh mounds surface overnight, with no caretaker in sight. Who digs these pits on an empty plateau? Rumors swirl of secret military tests or clandestine research left over from Soviet times. A few brave reporters poked around and found radiation levels that spike without warning, just enough to make you think twice about a long stay. Would you risk a quick peek for the chance to say you've seen the place of no return? Number 16, the Hill of Crosses. About 11 kilometers from the city of Šiauliai in northern Lithuania, there's a spot called the Hill of Crosses. It looks like a simple earthen mound, but its story runs deep. Thousands of crosses, wood, metal, stone, crowd its slopes, and when a breeze sweeps through, rosaries and crucifixes tinkle together, sounding like bells. Some say the hill marks a church lost to a fierce storm, buried under sand and rock in one night. Folks whisper about ghostly monks marching at sunrise, their silhouettes moving like memories across the grass. Over the centuries, people reported visions of saints, sudden miracles, and eerie lights flickering among the crosses. In 1990, a man named Ksaiwiki counted the hill's crosses, just 130 then. 2 years later, that number rose to 155. After World War I, it dipped to 50, but by 1938, more than 400 had appeared. The Soviets tried to clear the hill in 1961, chopping down over 5,000 crosses, yet by 1975, more than 1,200 fresh crosses had sprung up. After Lithuania regained its freedom, local enthusiasts tallied over 14,000 large crosses, many 3 to 4 meters tall, and around 41 smaller ones. Today, visitors leave crosses, hoping their wishes are heard. Number 15, Lake Maracaibo. Nestled between the Andes foothills and the Caribbean coast, Lake Maracaibo stretches across northwest Venezuela as Latin America's largest lake. By day, its surface shimmers with fishing boats and waterbirds, but after sunset, something startling unfolds. Every night, sometimes up to 260 nights a year, hundreds of lightning bolts dance over the lake for as long as 10 hours straight.
Up until now, Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela was known as the lightning capital of the world.
This spectacle, called Catatumbo lightning, is so intense that satellites use it as a navigation marker, and local planes warn pilots to steer clear of its electric storms. Scientists have linked this near-constant lightning to warm lake waters, cool mountain breezes, and the funneling effect of the Catatumbo River Valley. Yet no single model fully explains why the show runs so reliably, why it favors the same spot, or why it peaks just before dawn. Some studies suggest swamp gases add extra fuel. Others point to changes in wind patterns tied to distant weather systems. Beyond its scientific puzzle, the lightning feeds local myths. Fishermen believe glowing spirits guard hidden treasures beneath the waves. Number 14, The Vanishing Secrets of Hoab-Baciu Forest.
Hoab-Baciu Forest is claimed to be one of the most haunted places in the world.
Deep in Romania's Transylvanian hills lies Hoab-Baciu Forest, a 250-hectare woodland, wrapped in whispers of the unexplainable. Locals call it the Bermuda Triangle of the Carpathians. The first hint of its eerie power came when a shepherd and his 200 sheep simply dissolved into thin air. No tracks, no sound, no clues. Since then, hikers report sudden chills, a prickling sense of being watched, and even flashes of pale lights darting between the twisted trunks.
That's some of the best paranormal evidence we have captured in a long while.
Botanists who wandered in to study the odd tree formations found trees bent at unnatural angles, roots lifted skyward as if trying to escape the earth. Soil samples show strange magnetic anomalies, but no one's yet pinned down what's shifting compass needles or warping instruments. Paranormal enthusiasts claim they've caught ghostly whispers on tape, while skeptics argue it's all local legend given new life each autumn when the canopy glows gold. Whether it's a quirk of geology, an undiscovered insect releasing hallucinogenic spores, or something far stranger, Hoab-Baciu continues to baffle experts. And just when you think you've heard it all, another marvel awaits, one that turns a river into a liquid rainbow. Number 13, Caño Cristales. Hidden in the heart of Colombia's Serranía de la Macarena, Caño Cristales snakes through jungle and plains, earning nicknames like River of Five Colors and Liquid Rainbow. From July to October, a special riverweed, Macarenia clavigera, blooms in reds, yellows, greens, blues, and blacks. Sunlight filters through just enough water to let the plants photosynthesize, painting the riverbed in a kaleidoscope unseen anywhere else on Earth. Adventurers trek in during this narrow window to marvel at vivid hues that seem too bright to be natural. Scientists agree that water levels, light angles, and nutrient flow must align perfectly for the spectacle. Yet they're still teasing out why tiny variations, just a few extra centimeters of rain or a shift in cloud cover, can mute the colors entirely. Early studies point to complex chemical signals in the plants linked to water chemistry, but the full picture of how seasons, soil minerals, and river currents choreograph this chromatic dance remains incomplete. Beyond its scientific intrigue, Caño Cristales supports a treasure trove of wildlife at the crossroads of the Andes, Amazon, and Orinoco basins. Rare frogs, colorful fish, and unseen insects make their home here, thriving in a landscape that shifts from monotone during the wet season to a riot of color in the dry. For now, Caño Cristales stands as both a living laboratory and a reminder that nature still holds secrets no map has yet charted. Number 12, Eternal Flame Falls. At Eternal Flame Falls, water tumbles down a rocky ledge, and almost hidden, a small flame flickers right behind the curtain of water. Most waterfalls wash everything away, but here something odd is happening. No logs, no matches, just a steady yellow glow against the wet stone. Scientists poked around and found the secret ingredient, natural gas seeping up through fractures in the rock.
The natural gas just keeps that flame burning constantly.
Methane is the main player, with a little propane and ethane mixed in, coming up from deep underground where ancient plants and animals turned into fuel over millions of years. Some researchers think tiny cracks in shale layers let the gas escape at a slow, steady rate. But mapping those cracks is like untangling spaghetti in the dark. On top of that, rain and temperature shifts play tug-of-war with gas pressure, so the flame sometimes sputters or goes out, only to reignite when enough gas builds up again. Aside from the science, people whisper about strange chills, ghost sightings, and time slipping near the falls. Hikers claim they've heard voices carried on the wind or seen figures standing just beyond where the trees touch the water. Whether it's gas at work or something more unexplained, the whole spot feels charged with mystery, like nature is showing us one of its best secrets. And that's only the start. Up next, we're headed to a giant stone figure in Italy that holds its vault of secrets. Number 11, Colosso della Miata. Perched in the rolling hills near Florence stands Colosso della Miata, a 16th century marvel carved into the likeness of a mountain giant. From the outside, it looks like one huge block of stone rising from the earth. Step inside, though, and you find a 3-story labyrinth of tunnels and chambers, each level with its own theme, from fiery underworld scene to airy lookout perches. The sculptor, Gian Bologna, didn't just carve rock, he engineered hidden hydraulics to bring this giant to life. Rainwater runs through pipes to simulate sweat on its brow. Smoke drifts from vents in its nostrils like each exhale, and narrow slits in the eyes and ears let eavesdroppers in on secret conversations held inside. In its clenched fist, the giant grips a sea creature whose mouth pours into a man-made pond below, a fountain doubling as a show. No blueprints survive, and historians still debate how 16th century workers drilled and joined those pipes so precisely. Some tunnels are barely shoulder high, as if designed for one person to crawl through and tend hidden valves. Others lead to tiny balconies with views of the Tuscan countryside that feel worth the crawl alone. Visiting today, you can hear the faint drip of water echo through stone halls and peek into chambers built 6 centuries ago. Every turn sparks a new question. Did Giambologna sketch this out first or invent as he went? And what else might still lie buried in the giant's core? Number 10. Fingal's Cave. On Staffa, a small island off Scotland's southwest coast in the United Kingdom, waves crash against basalt cliffs carved like giant chisels. Inside Fingal's Cave, hexagonal columns formed by cooling lava rise like cathedral walls. The real marvel is the sound. Each swell becomes a droning hymn, thanks to the cave's curved shape and stone pillars that focus the sea's vibrations. Legend credits an Irish giant named Fingal, with forging stepping stones linking Scotland and Ireland. But geologists say molten lava cooled about 60 million years ago, contracting into 6-sided prisms. Why some sections form perfect columns and others fractured into irregular blocks remains unsolved. Minor shifts in temperature or mineral content likely mattered, but no model fully reproduces the patterns here. Queen Victoria once sailed to hear its echoing chambers, and Felix Mendelssohn composed his Hebrides Overture after listening to its chorus. Today, boat tours drift to the entrance, where salt spray blends rock and ocean. Even with modern instruments, scientists puzzle over the precise cooling conditions and tectonic shifts that yielded such uniform geometry. Each new measurement raises fresh questions about pulsed lava flows or unseen crustal movements, ensuring Fingal's Cave continues singing its secret song and inspires immense awe. Number 9. The Pyramid of Quiquilco. In the middle of bustling Mexico City, just a stone's throw from traffic jams and taco stands, you'll find something completely out of place. A giant, round pyramid that looks more like a UFO landing pad than anything out of ancient history. This is the Pyramid of Quiquilco, and while it doesn't get the same spotlight as Teotihuacan, it may actually be older. We're talking 1200 BC old, and the people who built it? Still a mystery. Archaeologists think they were farmers with deep spiritual beliefs.
Built one of the largest pyramids, or a series of some of the largest pyramids.
Worshipping something called the Old God of Fire. Ironically, fire's exactly what wiped them out. Around 200 AD, the nearby Seattle volcano erupted and buried the entire city in lava. And just like that, poof, an entire civilization was swallowed whole. Today, Quiquilco is both an archaeological site and a protected nature reserve. Locals walk their dogs near it. Hikers pass by its overgrown edges. And yes, snakes are still a real thing here. It's surreal to see such ancient ruins surrounded by apartment buildings and coffee shops. But what's even more bizarre, we still don't know who these people were, how they built this thing, or what else is buried under the hardened lava. And if that feels remote and strange, wait until you hear about an island so isolated, it was said to be the closest place to God. Number 8. Skellig Michael. Off the coast of Ireland, rising out of the Atlantic like some jagged green shark fin, sits a tiny island that looks like it was plucked from a fantasy film. And actually, it was. Star Wars was filmed there. But long before lightsabers arrived, Skellig Michael was home to a group of monks who decided that regular isolation just wasn't isolated enough. Back in the 6th century, these monks rowed across rough seas to this rock in the middle of nowhere to get closer to God. And once they got there, they built tiny homes called beehive huts, without mortar, on the steep cliffs. These huts still stand today, defying storms and gravity. There are no docks, no cozy cabins, and definitely no corner stores. Just sharp steps carved into rock, birds squawking in the wind, and stone huts that have faced over 1,000 years of weather.
With its 6th century monastic settlement and spectacular Atlantic views.
Why did they pick this place? How did they even survive? And what did daily life look like on an island with no fresh water? UNESCO protects it now for both its history and wildlife, but the real mystery still hangs in the air. How humans ever managed to build and live here at all. Number 7. The zone of silence. Some deserts are dry, some are hot, and then there's Mexico's zone of silence, a place where things just stop working. Radios, static, compasses, spinning, cell signals, forget it. It's like nature itself flips the switch and says, you're on your own now. Tucked deep in the Chihuahuan Desert, this 1,500 square mile area in Durango doesn't look like much, just rock, cactus, and more rock. But over the years, it's gained a serious reputation. It all started when a US missile test accidentally veered way off course and crash-landed here in the 1970s. When scientists arrived to investigate, they noticed something odd. Radio communication kept cutting out. Since then, people have reported strange lights in the sky, bizarre weather shifts, and even sightings of mysterious beings in white robes. Sounds wild, right? Some say the area is loaded with magnetic minerals. Others suggest meteorite fragments are to blame. And of course, there's the always popular alien theory. The strangest part? No one really knows what's causing all this. Researchers keep digging, figuratively and literally, but the zone continues to shrug them off like a bad signal. Whether it's nature throwing us a curveball or something far weirder, the zone of silence remains one of the planet's most puzzling blank spots. And as science marches on, this place isn't giving up its secrets easily. Number 6, the Devil's Kettle. Up in Judge C.R. Magny State Park in northern Minnesota, there's a waterfall that doesn't just drop water, it makes it disappear. The Brule River splits into two right before the fall. One side behaves normally, tumbling down the rocks and continuing on its merry way. But the other half, it plunges into a massive dark hole in the rock called the Devil's Kettle and vanishes. And we're not talking about hidden underground stream kind of vanishing. Scientists have dumped everything from dye to ping pong balls and even GPS trackers into the kettle.
The water on the west side plunges into a hole in the rock and vanishes.
Not a single item has ever been seen again. Ever. At first glance, you might think there's some secret underground cave system or a vast network of tunnels. But if that were the case, wouldn't at least one of those test objects reappear somewhere downstream? Oddly, a few hundred feet down the river, the water volume jumps back up, like nothing ever left. It's as if the missing water sneaks back into the riverbed through some hidden detour. How or where? No one knows. Geologists suspect a hidden fissure or lava tube under the rock, but good luck proving it. Until we can track that water, the Devil's Kettle remains one of America's strangest and wettest unsolved mysteries. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. Deep in the heart of an ancient forest lies an enormous stone woman, her form reclining amidst mossy ferns and dappled sunlight. Every contour of her body, gentle slopes of shoulder, delicate curve of hip, and slender fingers reaching toward the earth, was shaped by forces no human hand could imitate. A tattered parchment discovered at the nearby village bore the single, astonishing sentence, "One of the 20 most mysterious places scientists still can't explain," and an arrow pointing straight to her resting place. Her surface gleamed like marble, flecked with emerald moss and veins of midnight blue. Tiny mushrooms clustered at her elbow as if paying tribute, while fireflies wove glowing patterns around her hair of tangled vines. An owl perched on her brow, its silent gaze surveying the silent cathedral of trunks and leaves. When the wind sighed through the canopy, her lips seemed to part in a whispered secret. Local lore insists she was born of a forgotten deity's sorrow, cast down to guard some hidden truth. Now, scholars and thrill-seekers venture beneath the towering oaks, chasing echoes of her ancient heartbeat. What mysteries lie buried in her stone heart, and will any living soul ever unravel them? Number 5. The Nazi concrete rings. Travel 200 miles from the North Pole, and you'll stumble across something that really shouldn't be there. A series of enormous concrete rings scattered along the Arctic coast. These aren't natural formations, and they're not part of any modern installation either. They were built during World War II by Nazi Germany, part of a secretive and still poorly understood operation in the icy reaches of Greenland. Official records claim the rings were likely platforms for testing advanced weaponry, maybe missile launchers or heavy machinery. But as you'd expect with anything Nazi-related, conspiracy theories have filled in the blanks. Some believe these rings were tied to experiments with anti-gravity propulsion. Others think they were part of the Nazi Bell Project, a supposed energy device so dangerous it allegedly killed every scientist who worked on it. Sounds wild, right? But no hard evidence has ever surfaced to confirm any of these extreme claims. And yet the structures are there, Huge, precise, and strangely out of place in such a remote location. Whatever their true purpose, they've sparked decades of speculation. Number 4. Kawa Ijen's Blue Fire. Kawa Ijen looks like something out of a science fiction movie, but it's very real and very hot. This volcano in East Java, Indonesia, doesn't erupt with the usual glowing red lava. Instead, it lights up the night with what looks like blue lava, earning it nicknames like Blue Fire or Electric Flame. But it's not actually the lava that's blue. What you're seeing are flames, huge ghostly blue flames, caused by sulfuric gases shooting out from underground cracks at extremely high temperatures, sometimes over 600 degrees Celsius. When these gases hit the air and ignite, they burn bright blue. Kawa Ijen isn't just fascinating, it's dangerous too. The crater holds a massive lake of acid, yes, actual acid, and local miners still climb down into the crater to collect solidified sulfur with nothing more than a scarf over their mouths. Breathing the fumes can cause serious damage, but they go in day after day. Photographers and travelers have been drawn to this place for years, especially since National Geographic showcased its otherworldly beauty. But no one's fully figured out why the gas vents are arranged the way they are, or how long the blue fire has been burning. Number 3. Volkhov Mountains Stone Mushrooms. Hidden deep in the remote forests of Karelia, Russia, is a mountain that refuses to follow the rules of geology. Volkhov Mountain stands quietly at 1,369 feet, but what it holds on its slopes has baffled scientists and locals for generations. Massive stone mushrooms. These towering rock formations, some reaching up to 30 feet tall, look like nature tried its hand at modern sculpture. They have thick tops balanced on narrow stems, so delicately that they seem like they should topple over any second. Yet they've stood for thousands of years. For a long time, people assumed these formations were man-made, maybe ancient monuments or markers left by forgotten civilizations. But the deeper geologists look, the more they think nature may be the true artist. One theory points to glacial activity from the last ice age. As massive glaciers pushed and pulled across the land, they may have cracked and shaped the bedrock, leaving behind these surreal, mushroom-like forms. Others believe underground rivers or even seismic activity could be responsible. Still, science hasn't pinned down exactly how these rocks ended up this way. Meanwhile, local Karelian and Sami folklore claims they're the work of giants, left behind as symbols of power or even as magical tools. But while these towering stones may have kept their secrets, another mystery lies even farther south, in the hills of Laos. Number 2, the Plain of Jars. On a quiet plateau in Laos, at around 3,600 feet above sea level, hundreds, maybe even thousands of enormous stone jars sit quietly, waiting for someone to figure out what they were for. Ranging in size from just a few feet to over 9 feet tall, some of these jars weigh several tons. Carved from solid sandstone and scattered in clusters across hills and fields, they've puzzled scientists, archaeologists, and just about everyone else for years. Who made them? No one's sure. Carbon dating puts them at roughly 2,000 years old, but there are no clear records, no writings, and no definitive clues left behind. Some believe they were used to store food, others think they held rainwater. But the leading theory? They were part of ancient burial practices. Excavations around the jars have uncovered human bones, beads, and tools, suggesting that these could have been used in some sort of ritual to honor the dead. Strangely, many of the jars are found in very specific spots, on ridges or hillsides, almost like they were placed there with care. But why go through the trouble of carving and moving stones so massive with nothing more than ancient tools? Until researchers uncover more, the Plain of Jars remains one of Southeast Asia's great unsolved mysteries. Number 1, the Cave of Crystals. Deep below the mountains near the Naka mine in Mexico lies the Cave of Crystals. Accidentally found in 2000 by 2 miners, it feels otherworldly. The cavern sits roughly 300 below ground, hidden from sunlight for ages. Gigantic selenite crystals spread in all directions, some reaching 39 feet long and 3 feet wide. These crystals grew over hundreds of thousands of years, thanks to warm, mineral-rich water trapped in the caves. As the liquid cooled, it left layers of crystal, slowly building each giant slab. But though nearby caves have the same water, none boast crystals even close to this size. Why? That's the million-dollar question. The cave's temperature hovers around 58 degrees Celsius with humidity near 100%. It's brutal. Scientists can only stay inside for a few minutes before the heat and steam force them out. To study the crystals, researchers suit up in special cool outfits and use oxygen tanks. They grab samples fast, knowing every second counts. The Cave of Crystals is more than a tourist spot. It's a place where nature's slow work shines.